Hi everyone, I'm Miss Amy with the Norcross Library, and this is Junior Scientists. We will be conducting STEAM experiments every second and fourth Tuesday of each month. This will be a great way to learn STEAM-related facts while having fun learning how to conduct experiments at home. But remember to always ask your parents' permission before you do any of the experiments or projects. Now, let's get started. This week, we will be learning about convection. Convection is a way in which heat travels. It occurs when heat is transferred by the movement of liquids or gases. The other methods of heat transfer are conduction and radiation. Natural convection occurs when fluids are heated. When the fluid molecules are heated, the fluid becomes larger and lighter, and the heated molecules take up more space and rise to the top, while the cooler molecules sink to the bottom. These cooler molecules then become heated, and the process is repeated. This cycle is called the convection current. Through this experiment, we will be learning about convection by using food coloring and water of different temperatures. We discover the effect of gravity, density, and temperature on fluids, and we will see how hot things rise and how cold things sink. This is an important part of our weather cycle and water currents. For this experiment, you will need 4 identical wide-mouth glass bottles, 2 index cards, food coloring of 2 colors, hot and cold water, 2 small pans or plates, or 1 large pan. Now, what you're going to do is you're going to fill up your 2 glass bottles with cold water, which I've already done. And you want to form a tiny little rounded opening on the top of it called a meniscus. This is where the water kind of bubbles out a little bit. So make sure you have some adult supervision because you're going to be using hot water and you don't want to burn yourself. Now I'm going to fill my second 2 glass bottles with the hot water until the tiny meniscus forms at the top. Now I'm going to use yellow food coloring for my hot water. So just put a couple drops of the yellow in each. And you can kind of just see how the colors begin to mix. Now I'm going to use blue food coloring for the cold water. So I'll put 2 drops of blue. Now you can already notice the difference between the hot water bottles and the cold water bottles. Can you tell which food coloring mixes quicker? Yep, the hot water bottles mixed quicker with the food coloring than the cold water did. Those are just kind of sinking down and not really mixing in as well as the hot water did. And that's because the molecules are much larger and it mixes everything quicker in the hot water bottles. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to take our index cards and we're going to put one over the top of one of the hot water bottles, and you're going to kind of give it a little tap on the top to make sure that it suctions and stays secure. So we're going to do this one, and I'll just place that one over here. And then we're going to take our second index card and I'm gonna put it over one of the cold water bottles. Do a little tap. You might spill a little bit, which is why we have the pan underneath. Okay, so now we're gonna be very careful and we're gonna flip it over, and hopefully our index card is going to stay on our bottle and our water doesn't go everywhere. So let's see. And it worked. So now we're gonna place this on top of one of our bottles. So we have the hot on the bottom of this one and the cold on the top. Now we're going to do the same thing, but this time I'm gonna have the cold on the bottom and I'm gonna put the hot on the top. So here we go, let's hope it sticks. It did. You wanna make sure you have some towels handy just in case. Okay, so now we have our 2 experiments. We have cold on top, hot on the bottom, hot on top, cold on the bottom. So now is the fun part. We're going to remove the index cards and we're going to see what happens if water temperature makes a difference, whether or not the hot water is on the top or on the bottom. So very gently, you're going to remove it. Try to keep sure that they're on each other. Okay, well, we did good. Now what do we see happening? Oh, it looks like it's the cold water is going down into the hot water and the hot water is rising up, and look, we see a change in color. Since we had yellow and blue, now we have green. So when the cold water was on the top, it mixed with the hot water on the bottom and we got the color green. So now let's see what happens when we remove the index card from the hot water bottle on the top and the cold water bottle on the bottom. Let's see. Is it changing? Is it mixing? It's not. It's not changing at all. So we still have the yellow on the top and the blue on the bottom. Whereas on this one, we have the color green. Let's talk about what happened. When we removed the cards from one set of the bottles, the hot water stayed on top and the cold water stayed on the bottom, with the colors staying pretty much the same. And in the other set, something very different happened. The hot water rose to the top and the cold water sank. As this motion occurred, the colors mixed together and it formed a new color. This happened because of differences in density, which is defined by the amount of material in a given volume. Everything is made of molecules. Hot molecules move more than cold molecules, and things that are hot typically take up more space than the same things when they are cold. This means it takes fewer hot water molecules to fill a bottle than cold water molecules. Hot water is therefore less dense than cold water. Gravity can also separate fluids by their density. Because the cold water has more mass per unit volume than hot water, the force of gravity on a given amount of cold water is larger than that on the same amount of hot water. This forces the cold water downward and causes the hot water to be pushed up or lifted upwards and that is convection. In the set of bottles where the hot water was above the cold water was already on the bottom, so there was no convection. I hope you enjoyed our experiment this week and you learned a little more about convection. Try this experiment with different types of liquids and see if you get the same results. Have fun with this one. See you next time.